Running back. Let's start there. Are there any running backs you're looking at right now, week 4, before this week begins, that you're looking to acquire a certain running back, a type of running back? Like, where you at when it comes to running backs?
Yeah, with running backs, obviously there's a type of running back you want. You want somebody who is going to have consistent work, right? You also want to, some of the people I'm looking at, obviously we have just your standard, top 5, 6 running backs, your Breece Halls, Saquons, Alvin, whatnot. Those are players obviously everybody wants, but just kind of taking a step, below those guys. Some players that I'm looking at that are on solid running teams, some teams that can play defense. One of the players that stands out to me is Tony Pollard. I like Tony Pollard. I like him for a few reasons, right? Obviously, they have questions at quarterback. This team can play really good defense, and this team can run the ball, right? Now, coming out, they're saying that him and Tajay Spears are going to be split and work 50-50. Well, Tony Pollard is, to me, the clear and cut best running back on that team. He runs effectively. He gets work in the passing game. And they may tend to lean on him a little bit more just for the fact that, they have shaky quarterback play, right? They're not sure what they have in Will Levis yet. He has been making a few mistakes.
Right.
Granted, he's been playing some tough defenses, right? So they played Chicago, which can be a tough defense, right? They're tricky. They can trick you, sacks, interceptions, whatnot. Then they play the Jets. The Jets obviously have a stifling defense when they got things going. And then Green Bay, also really stingy defense as well, right? So they went up against 3 pretty good defenses that I would say, right? But coming up, right, they're going to be playing this week, Monday night, Miami. They're going, and I think Miami is just a reeling team. I think that they're not that good. Long story short, I think Tony Pollard is one of those players who are actually going to show that he's the better running back on the team. I think that itself is going to command more work than Tajay Spears. Like his receiving game. I like the fact that they have a good defense to lean on him as well. So, Tony Pollard for me, a buy low. Right now, he's running back, I want to say like number 23, running back 22. I can see
running backs. Yeah, I think in PPR leagues, running back 21 right now. But the thing is, I got this Titans hat on, so you know what I'm saying, I ain't mad at the pick. But like, is that really a buy low? Or are you just looking at last week and thinking like, man, he had under 10 touches last week, so like somebody's probably panicking on him because they also got a bye coming up. Even though they play Miami on Monday night, they got a bye coming up too. So like, do you think that this is really somebody you can like buy low on, or like
no?
How much do you value like that buy low component when it comes to Pollard because he's he's a top 24 RB.
Yeah, top 24 RB. That's what people assume he's going to be for the remainder of the season. Like that's where they draft him as, like a back end RB2, right? I look at this 2 ways. There's a bye coming up. If he's on one of those reeling teams, can they take that hit at the bye, right? Or are they looking to try and get a leg up, right? So that's one thing. 2, I just think by the nature of it, I'm a believer that Tony Pollard can be more of a top like 15 running back versus like a top 25 running back, right? Right now in PPR, he's top 21. And in order to be in that top 15, in order to be in that top 15, he's going to have to make some jumps. And I think he's going to have a breakout game coming in Miami Monday night.
Breakout game coming in Miami, man. And, I think that you got to look for that too, like opportunities. An opportunity I'm looking forward to is Josh Jacobs bouncing back as well. And this is a player that a lot of people drafted as like a top 12 guy, but there was question marks about Josh Jacobs because last season he didn't finish as a top 12 running back, which we've seen Josh Jacobs do pretty much his entire career. And going to Green Bay, there's also this narrative about older running backs changing teams and how they don't perform. But when I look at Josh Jacobs, I think this is a running back who can perform better as the season goes on, especially in Green Bay. Already faced Philly, already faced Tennessee, so we know there's some tough defenses against running backs there. But the outlook is better for Josh Jacobs, especially knowing that Jordan Love is expected back on his team. He's been having to do this with Malik Willis. So, you get a running back now who's outside of the top 30 currently right now, outside of the top 30. You can go get that as an RB2 right now, and I think you can find RB1 type value for Josh Jacobs the rest of the way. So all it takes is one mega game from him. He hasn't scored a touchdown yet this season, which is kind of surprising for a player of Josh Jacobs' caliber. Give me Josh Jacobs. Like right now, I think if I was going to be trading for him, I would be actively looking to get him at RB2 value. Anything that's in between a top 12 to top 24 running back, I'm trying to acquire Josh Jacobs as I can. They don't have a bye until way later into the season, week 10. And running back right now is already one of the more difficult positions to even acquire. There's only like 25 good running backs in the league. If you can get Josh Jacobs at a reasonable price, say there's a guy that's kind of breaking out, you got your Carson Steels, you have your your J.K. Dobbins. You could flip one of those two with an additional player to go get Josh Jacobs. You do that instantly.
Okay, so Josh Jacobs hasn't scored a touchdown just yet for Green Bay. Is there somebody who has? Yeah, his name's Emmanuel Wilson. He scored a touchdown last week, bro. I don't know about this whole Josh Jacobs thing. I like Josh Jacobs. I like the idea of Josh Jacobs in Oakland for the Raiders, right? When I say Oakland, for the Raiders, because they run a one-back system, whereas Josh Jacobs on Green Bay, they traditionally, at least have as of recent, been running a two-back system. So, I don't know. He doesn't get much passing work, right? I mean,
but that's one of the things though. Like people say the passing work, and like when Jordan Love was there, he had 2 catches in week 1. So I think this has been like a Malik Willis thing. It's tough to I think on the surface, if I had Josh Jacobs, I'd be like, and I wasn't confident, I'd be like, man, what do I have? What do I have? Do I have a running back that can't catch passes? Do I have a 2-back system? That 2-back system has been utilized because Malik Willis is starting at quarterback. They've had to run the rock more. So, and he had 32 carries in week 2. I don't think this is a split carry system. This is Josh Jacobs. We trust you. So situation matters. And that's something too to note for like running backs in early part of the season. Sometimes situation, the score, just matches overall in general kind of dictate usage early on. So that's why I'm in on Josh Jacobs, bro. It is what it is, man. Who else?
It is what it is.
Is there any other running backs you like?
Yeah, man, I got a few. This running back I like. Yeah, he's coming back. I like Jonathan Brooks, bro. He could be in somebody's IR right now. Somebody's reeling right now. But this is somebody you want to look at. I think with the fact that they're looking on the up and ups just in total of a team. When they switched out, they got Andy Dalton now. Their offense as a whole just looks functional, right? Yeah. There's a few different weapons that he can go to through the air. And Jonathan Brooks, obviously coming off the ACL, he's electric. He has talent. They drafted him at the top of their draft for a reason, right? Even with that. So they're going to use him. They're already invested in him. And I think getting him right now is the perfect opportunity before he comes back. So that's somebody that I am interested. I'm curious to see how he fits in this offense. And I think that right now you can probably get him for just cheaper, just based off of how people perceive the Panthers in general.
Well, the offense isn't that good, and it's like when I see Jonathan Brooks, I'm like, okay, maybe he comes in, but like Chuba Hubbard's been performing at a decent rate, especially once Dalton came in. He looked a lot better. They've used Miles Sanders, so you don't have no concerns about this being like a timeshare at some point, because that's, to me, at least until like later on in the year where they have like a week 11, week 12 bye, at least till later on, I'm like, that's probably going to be a timeshare for a few weeks.
Yeah, look, bro, it can be a timeshare, but if there's guys that I'm not worried about, it's definitely not a fucking Chuba Hubbard. It's definitely not a fucking Miles Sanders. Like, these guys, there's a new regime that has taken over, right? Like, these guys are invested in a Jonathan Brooks. This team itself may not be bad or may not be good, right? They may not be going places. They're going to want to see what they can get out of their younger players.
You're just buying into this fucking, he's the next Todd Gurley. He's going to be there for your fantasy players.
No, bro, no. By no ways am I comparing Jonathan Brooks to Todd Gurley. That's I am doing
out there, by the way, he's the next Todd fucking Gurley. Like, fuck out of here.
I don't see that. I could see him being useful in the passing game. Like Todd Gurley was good, but Todd Gurley was him until his knee said he wasn't. But, Jonathan Brooks, I think, can see sufficient work in the passing game and just make shit happen. Like they need a spark, and I think that he can potentially be that spark. So maybe a watered down. Nope, I don't want to get. I know I'm already going to get burned for that.
Nah, you better. You got to. Yeah, you got to.
I was going to say maybe like a watered down Jamal Charles. I know I'm going to get burned for that. I know. I say it. I'm going to watered down though.
That need to go to the edit. That need to go to the edge. You need to call him just Tony Pollard or some shit. That's who he's gonna be like. Tony Pollard. Don't be over here.
All right. I'm gonna clip that up right there when they start busting. Watch.
Listen. Other opportunities though in that same division, the NFC South. I think there's another running back that I like too. Rachaad White. Rachaad White's one of those players who, yeah, you could laugh all you want, but Rachaad White, listen, like his value's at an all-time low right now. He's going outside of the top 30 running backs right now. He's ranked outside the top 30 running backs so far. And it's one of those things where you hear like Bucky Irving's taking over and he's still playing 70% of the snaps. Even last week in a week where he was hurt, he's still getting the snaps. Now, did he get all the work you want to see? No, but he's still involved in the passing game. And I get it. What's the one thing everybody says about Rachaad White? He's inefficient with his touches. All he does is catch the rock. That's it. And even still in PPR leagues, that's good. And I think we're going to see a little bit more from Rachaad White as the season goes on. They've already came out and said, Todd Bowles and Liam Cohen have already said, listen, this is going to be a committee still. They're both going to be utilized. Bucky's earned more work now has made his value crater. Everybody thinks Rachaad White is like in jeopardy of losing his starting gig. I don't see it that way. I think this might be a two-headed monster, but that doesn't bode terribly for Rachaad White. It's a player who could still be an RB2 on your team. If anybody's selling for anything outside of a top 24 RB or panicking, do it. I would throw some offers with some receivers that are maybe like wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 territory, and go get Rachaad White, especially at a position right now that doesn't have a lot of players. We talked about it. There's not a lot of running backs. Trade your Deontay Johnsons for Rachaad White. Go trade a Romo Dunze for Rachaad White. Go try to trade some of these guys who have been performing and go get a player who you know you can trust in your lineup.
Yeah, I just don't know about that. You said the key word, man. Somebody you know you can trust in your lineup. Can we trust Rachaad White? Bro, I'm going to throw some numbers at you. 6 rushes for 17 yards. I'm going to throw another one at you. 10 rushes for 18 yards. Bro, like, I get it. Rachaad had the most carries last year, second to Christian McCaffrey. And he only had like 900 rushing yards. That's just like ugly. For a team to function, you have to be able to run effectively for, you know what I mean? Like they were functioning last year too, you know, and I get it. He catches a rock, which does bode well. But when they're talking about increasing Bucky's work and then you're looking at his numbers, like where do you see that those numbers match up?
I was thinking the passing game, like he's had 6 catches and 5 catches in 2 out of the games already so far. So even if that's the floor, I don't think he's going to be 2 yards per carry every single game. If you think that about Rachaad White, send his ass away for the low. Me, I think he's going to be better than that, probably somewhere in the 3 to 4 range. And if we're getting 12 to 15 carries on that, you combine 60 yards rushing, which I don't care if that amounts to 900. If I can get 5 catches out of that too and a few touchdowns, now we talking. Now we back in the same range. So I'm not worried at all about Rachaad White. I think the people that are worried drafted him as a top 12 running back expecting last year's production. And I think that's the player I'd be targeting because they're disappointed right now. Give me Rachaad White.
Yeah, take him.